pointing his finger at the photog and sternly declaring, "Never put your hands on me." As Denzel turns away, the photographer does it again.
A line was just crossed, and one of the most respected actors in the world, Denzel Washington, has finally broken his silence. But the shocking video of him getting into a heated fight on a red carpet is not the real story. It's a clue to a much bigger secret he's been holding. A secret about a promise he made to God, and a decision that changes everything. What did he do when no cameras were watching? A confrontation in Cannes.
A confrontation ensues after a photographer grabs him to get his attention for a photo.
It all happened on May 19, 2025, at one of the most famous events in the world, the Cannes Film Festival in France. For over 75 years, this festival has been the place where the biggest movies are first shown to the world. The night was supposed to be a celebration. Denzel Washington was there for the world premiere of his new movie, Highest to Lowest, a film that brought him back together with his longtime friend and director, Spike Lee, for the first time in nearly 20 years. The red carpet was packed, hundreds of cameras were flashing, and the whole world was watching. Denzel was on a very tight schedule. He had flown to France for just one day because it was his only day off from starring in the play Othello on Broadway in New York. As he walked the carpet, he was surrounded by his team. He was talking with Spike Lee and his co-star, the famous rapper A$AP Rocky. They were smiling, enjoying the big moment. But then things took a sharp turn. In the middle of all the noise and chaos, one photographer became too aggressive. He wanted to get Denzel's attention, to get the perfect shot that no one else had. But he went too far. The photographer reached out and grabbed Denzel Washington's arm. In that instant, everything changed. Denzel, who is known for being calm and professional, immediately reacted. He wasn't just annoyed, he was serious. He pulled his arm away from the photographer's grip with force. He turned his whole body to face the man who had touched him. He didn't yell or cause a scene. Instead, he did something much more powerful. He looked the photographer directly in the eyes, raised his finger, and pointed it right in the man's face. His voice was low but firm, and he said one word over and over again, making sure the man understood. He said, "Stop it." You would think that would be the end of it. A clear warning from one of the biggest stars on the planet. But it wasn't. The photographer seemed to smile or even laugh it off, as if it were all a game. As Denzel turned his back to walk away, the man did the unthinkable. He reached out and grabbed Denzel's arm a second time. This time, Denzel's reaction was even quicker and stronger. He jerked his arm free instantly. The calm warning was gone, replaced by a final, unmissable command. He looked at the man again and said, "Stop, stop, never put your hands on me again." He made it clear this was not a request. He said, "I mean it. Stop, stop it." You could see in his eyes that he was not playing. He was visibly upset. Drawing a hard line that no one was allowed to cross. He had made it clear that his personal space was not to be violated. After the tense moment, Denzel walked back to his cast members and continued down the red carpet. Later, when news outlets asked what happened, Denzel's team gave a simple reply. They said it was a great evening, but the video told a different story. It showed a man who was no longer willing to be pushed around, a man who was setting new rules for how he would be treated. Why was he so firm? What had changed in Denzel to make him draw such a clear line in front of the entire world? The answer was waiting just inside the theater, and it was even more surprising than the fight outside. The honor he never saw coming.
I'm glad you're here for all the people who love you too. We love you. We love you.
Just moments after the tense showdown on the red carpet, Denzel Washington walked into the Grand Theater in Cannes. The mood inside was completely different. The anger and frustration from outside seemed to melt away as he took his seat for the premiere of Highest to Lowest. But before the movie could even begin, another surprise was waiting for him. This one, however, would bring him to tears. The head of the Cannes Film Festival, a man named Thierry Frémaux, walked onto the stage. He announced that he had a special presentation to make. It was a complete secret. No one knew it was coming, least of all Denzel. Thierry Frémaux began to speak about Denzel's incredible career, a career that has spanned decades and given the world some of the most powerful movie performances ever seen. And then he announced that the festival was giving Denzel Washington its highest honor, a surprise honorary Palme d'Or. This award is not just any trophy. It is one of the most respected honors in the entire film industry, given only to true legends for their life's work. Only 21 people have ever received this special prize. People like Meryl Streep, George Lucas, and Robert De Niro have received it. It meant that the festival was placing Denzel among the greatest artists of all time. To make the moment even more special, Denzel's close friend, Spike Lee, walked on stage to hand him the award. The entire room stood up and applauded for a long time. As Denzel walked to the stage to accept the golden trophy, he was visibly emotional. The man who had been so strong and firm just minutes before was now overcome with feeling. He looked out at the audience and said, "This is a total surprise for me, so I'm a little emotional." But it was what he said next that gave a clue to the real story. He didn't talk about how hard he had worked or how much he deserved the award. Instead, he talked about something else. He looked at the crowd, full of famous actors and directors, and he said, "We're a very privileged group in this room that we get to make movies and wear tuxedos and nice clothes and dress up and get paid for it as well." He paused and then said the words that explained everything. He said, "We're just blessed beyond measure. I'm blessed beyond measure. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you all. Blessed beyond measure." That phrase was the key. It was a confirmation that he was on the right path. The contrast was incredible. Outside, he was a warrior, fiercely defending his dignity. Inside, he was a humble servant, giving all the credit to God. How could he be both of these men at the same time? The answer wasn't just in his faith, but also in the story he was there to tell, a story about a man facing his own impossible choice. A story of the highest highs and lowest lows.
Where's my money? I got the 4-pounder sitting right here. Don't try nothing funny.
Something like that. You know, Nazir, 93, 94.
The movie Denzel was in Cannes to celebrate, Highest to Lowest, is more than just another film. It's a powerful story that seems to mirror the very questions Denzel is asking himself in his own life. In the movie, he plays a character named David King, a music mogul in New York City who is known for having the best ears in the business. He built a huge record label called Stackin' Hits Records from the ground up. But David King is at a crossroads. He is in the middle of a risky business deal to buy back full control of his company, to stop a rival from taking it over and turning his music into something cheap, made by computers. To get the money for the deal, he has risked everything he owns, including his beautiful penthouse home. The day he is supposed to close the deal, he gets a terrifying phone call. A kidnapper tells him that his son, Trey, has been taken and demands a ransom of $17.5 million. At first, David agrees to pay, even if it means losing his company. But then, there's a shocking twist. His son, Trey, is found safe. The kidnapper made a mistake and took the wrong boy. He accidentally kidnapped Kyle, Trey's best friend and the son of David's driver and close friend, Paul. The kidnapper still demands the same amount of money. This is where the movie's title gets its meaning. David King is at the highest point of his success, but he is suddenly thrown into the lowest possible situation. He has to make an impossible choice. Does he pay the ransom to save his driver's son, even though it will destroy his business and everything he has worked for? Or does he protect his fortune and let an innocent boy suffer? His own son begs him to save his friend. His business partners warn him that not paying will ruin the company's image. After a long night of soul-searching, David decides to pay the ransom. He becomes a public hero for his selfless act. But this decision puts him in even more trouble. The people who loaned him the money for his business deal tell him he has 2 weeks to pay it all back, or they will take everything he owns. The second half of the movie becomes a thrilling hunt for the kidnapper. David King, with the help of his driver Paul, played by the brilliant actor Jeffrey Wright, takes matters into his own hands. They track the kidnapper, an aspiring rapper named Young Felon, through the tough streets of New York. It turns out Young Felon, played by A$AP Rocky, used to look up to David King and saw him as a father figure. He felt ignored for years and turned to this desperate plan. In the end, David King confronts the man who almost ruined his life. But something inside him has changed. He realizes that money and success are not what truly matter. He has lost his connection to the music and art that he once loved. So, when he has the chance to make a hit song with Young Felon, who has become famous after being arrested, David turns him down. Instead, he starts a new, smaller record label to help truly talented musicians who are struggling just like he once was. The movie ends with him signing a new artist, a soulful singer named Sula, who his son discovered. He has found his way back to what he loves. He has chosen purpose over profit. This story of a man finding his true values is the perfect reflection of the journey Denzel Washington is on in his own life. A journey that led him to a church in Harlem, New York, on December 21st, 2024. A Vow in Harlem.
Denzel Washington has a new line to add to his already impressive resume. He was given a minister's license at a church ceremony in Harlem where he was also baptized.
This day was special for 2 reasons. First, it was just 1 week before his 70th birthday, a time when many people look back on their lives and think about what truly matters. Second, it was the day Denzel decided to make a public and formal commitment to his faith, a commitment that had been growing inside him for decades. The place he chose was the Kelly Temple Church of God in Christ. This was not a celebrity church filled with famous faces. It was a community church, a place of genuine worship, far from the glamour of his everyday life. On that day, Denzel Washington, the 2-time Oscar-winning actor, took part in 2 very important ceremonies. First, he was baptized. Dressed in a simple white robe, he stood before the church's bishop, James Pullings Jr., and was fully immersed in the water. It was a symbol of washing away the old and starting anew. When he came out of the water, he was given a certificate of baptism, a piece of paper that meant more to him than any award. But that wasn't all. Later in the service, after changing into a casual gray t-shirt and black sweatpants, Denzel stood before the church leaders again. This time, they presented him with something else, a minister's license. This license means he is now officially recognized by the church and can lead services like weddings, and it is the first step to one day becoming an ordained minister. He then spoke to the people in the church, the congregation that was now his family in faith. He looked at them and acknowledged how long this journey had been. He said, "It took a while, but I'm here." He wanted everyone to know that this transformation was possible for anyone. He said, "If God can do this for me, there's nothing He can't do for you. The sky literally is the limit." His wife of over 40 years, Pauletta Washington, was sitting in the front row, watching with tears in her eyes. She also spoke to the church, saying how proud she was of her husband. She called him the head of our house and said he has set a great example for our children. This event is the key to understanding the new Denzel Washington. The man who stood up to the photographer in Cannes was not just an angry celebrity. He was a man with a new sense of authority, an authority that came from his faith, not his fame. The man who cried on stage while accepting the Palme d'Or was not just an emotional actor. He was a man who truly felt blessed because he had finally aligned his life with his deepest beliefs. This was a fundamental change in who he is. And this journey didn't start a few months ago. It started a lifetime ago, following in the footsteps of the most important man in his life. A father's footsteps. Denzel's father was named Denzel Hayes Washington Sr. He was not an actor or a celebrity. He was a man of God. For 60 years, he served as an ordained Pentecostal minister for the Church of God in Christ, the very same church organization that just gave his son a minister's license. He also worked for the New York City Water Department and a local department store to support his family. Denzel grew up in the church. It was the center of his family's life. He remembers how excited his father would get every year when he prepared for the church's big meeting in Memphis, Tennessee. His father would pack his 2 best suits, and his mother would fry a tin of chicken for the long drive. It was the most important time of the year for him. Denzel said he knows his father is smiling in heaven, seeing his son follow in his footsteps. But life wasn't always easy. When Denzel was 14, his parents got divorced, and he started getting into trouble on the streets. He said his 3 closest friends at the time ended up spending decades in jail, but his mother, Lennis, a beautician, saw the dangerous path he was on. She had the sense to get me out of that situation before it was going to be my turn, he said. She enrolled him in a private school, a decision that changed his life. Still, it wasn't just his father's influence that guided him. There was also a prophecy. A moment that happened when Denzel was just 20 years old, long before he was famous. He was sitting in his mother's beauty parlor, a young man unsure of his future. A woman in the church named Ruth Green came up to him. She looked at him and said something that would stick with him for the rest of his life. She said, "Boy, you are going to travel the world and preach to millions of people." At the time, Denzel thought she was crazy. But as his acting career took off, he started to understand. He was traveling the world, and through his movies, he was speaking to millions. He was telling stories of good and evil, of struggle and hope. His work became his way of preaching. Years later, he asked his own pastor if that prophecy meant he was supposed to quit acting and become a preacher in a church. His pastor gave him some wise advice. Told Denzel, "No, you already have a pulpit." His pulpit was the movie screen. His sermons were his performances. For decades, he used his acting to share his message. But now, something has changed. He has decided that his work is not enough. He wants to speak more directly about his faith. Getting his minister's license was not him starting a new life. It was him finally and fully accepting the life that was prophesied for him 50 years ago. He is no longer just an actor who has faith. He is a man of God who also acts. And this new identity is supported by the most important person in his life, the woman who has been by his side through it all. The woman who holds everything together.
Now, I don't know if he remembers this, but this is the way it goes. So whatever he says, this is how it went down. I'm going to tell you.
She is the rock that has kept him grounded for more than 4 decades. Denzel himself has said, "I would not be alive without Pauletta Washington. I wouldn't survive." Like Denzel, Pauletta is a talented performer. She is a classically trained pianist who was competing in prestigious competitions since she was a young girl. She is also an actress who started her career on Broadway. In fact, they met on the set of Denzel's very first movie, a TV film called Wilma, back in 1977. He was playing the boyfriend of the main character, and she was playing one of the other track stars. But they didn't actually speak until months later at a party thrown by a mutual friend. The story of what happened next depends on who you ask. Pauletta says that the very next night she went to see a play. She arrived late and quietly slipped into an empty seat. When the lights came up at intermission, she realized she was sitting right next to Denzel. Denzel jokes that it wasn't an accident. He says he told everyone at the party he was going to that play, hinting that she followed him there. Whatever the truth is, it was the start of a legendary love story. But it wasn't an easy yes. Pauletta revealed that Denzel had to propose to her 3 times before she finally said yes. They got married in June 1983, and even their wedding day had a funny story. They were so busy shaking hands and taking pictures that they ran out of food at their own reception. They ended up going to a diner and having eggs for their wedding meal. As Denzel's career took off, Pauletta made a huge sacrifice. She stepped back from her own acting and music career to raise their 4 children, John David, Katya, and twins Olivia and Malcolm. Denzel gives her all the credit. He said, "My wife has made our house a home and raised these beautiful kids and protected them and sacrificed for them. She did the heavy lifting." For 41 years, she has been his partner, his support, and his inspiration. When asked what the secret to their long marriage is, Pauletta said, "It's simple. We work at it. It's work. There are a lot of prayers for strength, for staying in a forgiveness mode, but it's the basic love that we have for each other." With her by his side, Denzel is now entering a new phase of his life, one that is not about slowing down, but about focusing on what truly matters. The next chapter is not retirement. Rumors began to fly that he was getting ready to retire, to leave Hollywood behind for good. But Denzel himself has come forward to set the record straight. And the truth is, he's not going anywhere. In fact, he's preparing for the most important and powerful chapter of his career yet. Denzel has made it very clear that he is not retiring tomorrow. He called the retirement rumors clickbait and explained that his words were taken out of context. He has a plan, and it's a busy one. He said he still has 5 or 6 more films he wants to make as an actor. He even did the math for everyone. He said that if he only did 1 movie a year, that would take him until he's 76 years old, and since he's turning 70, that's a lot more work to be done. His real passion, however, is shifting. He wants to spend more time behind the camera. As a director, he has a huge project that he is deeply committed to. He plans to produce and direct movie versions of all the remaining plays by the legendary writer August Wilson. He has already helped make 3 of them, including Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and he has 7 more to go. And what about the roles he will still play as an actor? He is being very selective, choosing projects that have deep meaning and cultural importance. These aren't just movies, they are legacy projects. First, there is his recent powerful role in Gladiator II. He played a character named Macrinus, a former slave who becomes a wealthy arms dealer with a plan to take over the Roman Empire. His performance was so strong that he was nominated for a Golden Globe Award. Next, he is finally going to play a role he has dreamed about for 20 years. He will star as the legendary General Hannibal, the man who crossed the Alps with elephants to challenge the Roman Empire. This will be a massive historical movie for Netflix, and he will be working with his trusted director from Training Day and The Equalizer, Antoine Fuqua. It's a role that flips his Gladiator II character on its head. After playing a man who fought to control Rome, he will now play a man who fought to defeat it. And then he is joining one of the biggest and most important movie series in modern history. The director of Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, has confirmed that he is writing a special part just for Denzel in Black Panther 3. Coogler said that Denzel is like family and called him the greatest living actor. When asked about the role, Denzel gave a simple, mysterious answer. He said, "That's between me and Ryan." Being a part of the world of Wakanda is a huge cultural moment, and it shows that Denzel is choosing roles that will have a lasting impact. So, Denzel Washington is not slowing down. He is focusing his energy. Every project he chooses now seems to be an extension of his new role as a minister. He is using his pulpit, the movie screen, to tell the biggest and most important stories. He is building a legacy that is not just about winning awards, but about serving his community and his faith.